Database is a collection of data usually stored in electronic form. If I go with file system, storing and retrieving of data cannot be done efficiently. Backend. So what is this backend? Backend is nothing but used to store the data, to store all the passenger or all the client's detail. I require backend. Hello to all, a warm welcome to my new session on fundamentals of computers, and the chapter name here is Introduction to Database Management System. I'm Revati from the Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram, First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. So dear student, what are you waiting for? Please take a pen as well as notes to make a point, because in my today's session I'm going to deal with very interesting topic, that is database management system. So anyway, let's see what are the topics I'm going to deal in my today's session, that is database management system. Along with that, I'm going to deal with file system as well as database management system, applications of database management system, and database user. Now, dear student, before going to start what is database, let me to discuss what is data. So, what is data? Here, data is nothing but raw material or nothing but raw fact which can be stored or recorded. If anything I have in the form and that can be stored and recorded, then it is called data. So here data is nothing but raw facts or statistics or equations, but it can be stored and recorded, and that is known as data. From the data, I'm going to derive database. For example, if I consider name, number, these are the example for data. So, number, data, name is stored or represented in the form of text, so it is also data. From this data, I'm going to derive database. It is a collection of interrelated data. So here I have data. That's just a data. But what about database? When I have collection of data, when I have collection of interrelated data which is stored and which is retrieved and which is deleted. So what is data? Data is nothing but the raw fact. But what about database? It's nothing but a collection of. So collection means what? There's nothing but more than one interrelated data that can be used to retrieve, that is access, to insert or to store and to delete the data. For example, if I consider database, that is college database, then college database will have the fields like admin, staff, students, faculty, etc. So here admin, staff, students, faculty, these are the example for data. So a database is a collection of data usually stored in electronic form. So what is database? It's nothing but the collection of data, and how the data are stored? It's in the form of electronically. So electronic document. So all the data are stored in the form of electronic. A database is typically designed so it is easy to store and it is easy to access. That means all the databases are designed in such a way that it's very easy to store the data as well as it is very easy to retrieve the data. So here the databases are used to store all the informations like company employees information, or if I consider education institute, then the employees informations are stored, as well as it is mainly used to perform all the salary related transactions or transactional records. In order to maintain all these things, I require database. So what are the details I'm going to store in database? That is employee record, transaction details, as well as salary details. Moving further, I'm going to have why I require database. Now tell me, what is the need of database? So it is easy to manage large amount of data. So here database stores and manages large amount of data in daily basis. So by using worksheet or spreadsheet, it's very difficult to manage and maintain the data. In order to overcome the disadvantage of worksheet or spreadsheet, I'm going to use database. By using database, I can able to manage large amount of data and accurate. So database is pretty accurate. That means whatever the data I'm going to get from the database, it is very accurate, and it sorts of built in constraints as well as checks. That means while storing data in my database, I can able to define the condition. Even I can able to check the fields. That is nothing but constraints as well as checks. So this means that the information available in the database is guaranteed to be correct in most cases. The another need here is easy to update. So whatever the information I'm going to have, it's going to vary frequently. So I want to update the data. By using database, I can very easily update the content which is stored in the database. So to manage, manipulate, maintain database, I'm going to have data manipulation language. So I'm going to have data manipulation language, and all those things are present in this structured query language. Moving further, security of data. So here database provides security. So database have various methods to ensure security of data. Suppose if I want to access any data which is stored in the database, I must have credential. What kind of credential I must have? That is login. By using username and password, I can able to access the content. So only the authorized user can able to log into the database. So it provides security of data and data integrity. So the data integrity in database makes sure that data is accurate and consistent in database. So data integrity means what? Whatever the data which we stored in the database, that is constant, consistent, as well as accurate, and it is not possible to modify it by the unauthorized user. And easy to research data. That means easy to search the data. With the help of query, I can able to search the data. So it is very easy to access and research data in the database by using data query language. That is nothing but DQL. That means I can able to search the content in the form of query. That means I want to prepare the query and I want to submit that query to the database. Based on that, I can able to search the data. Now I'm going to have database management system. So dear student, I started from data. From data, I'm going to derive database. From database, I'm going to derive database management. system. So what is data? Here data is nothing but the raw fact that can be stored and processed. Then what about database? It is nothing but the collection of related data. Now I have large number of data. Okay, now I have large number of data. Now I require some software to manage these data. For that, I'm going to have database management system. It is nothing but the application software. So, a database management system is a software for storing data, accessing the data, as well as maintaining the data based on user requirement with security measurement. So, it consists of group of program which manipulates the database. So, what is database here? That is nothing but the group of program or set of instruction that is used to manipulate the database. So, the database concepts that request for the data from an application and instruction of the operating system provided the specific data. So here database is responsible for accepting the request or receiving the request, and once the request is received by the database management system, now it's going to process the data. After processing data, it's responsible for generating or providing the output to the user. So in large system, a database helps users and another, that is other third party software, to receive as well as retrieve data. So if I consider large database systems, they provide facilities like user can able to store the data as well as retrieve the data. So here database management system is nothing but a collection of programs that enables the user to access database. So it is nothing but the application software that enables the user to access the database, manipulate the database, and reporting or representation of data. So here database management system is a software used to manage database. It allows the user to create their own database as well as it allows the user to maintain their own database. Here database includes user as well as database and other application programs, and it acts or it provides an interface between data and software. Now, dear student, let's see the example of a database management system. For example, think that I have student database, I have course database. That means I'm going to store all the information related to course in the course database, and if I want to store section related information, then I'm going to have section database. And if I want to create and store grade information of the student, then I can have grade database. And tutor, suppose if I want to store the teacher or tutor information, then I can able to create tutor database. So these are some of the example for database. Now let me to consider the difference between file system as well as database. So what is file system here? It is a software. So file system is also software used to manage and organize the files in a storage medium. So it is mainly used to arrange and organize the files in a storage medium and controls how the data stored and retrieved. But if I go with database management system, it is software application used to accessing, creating and managing database. So it's example for application software used to create database, used to access database and used to manage database. Now, if I consider second difference, the file system provides the detail of data. That means if I go with file system, it's going to give the details of data representation as well as storage of data, how the data is stored and how the data are represented in the form. All those things comes under file system. But if I go with database management system, is efficient to use as there are a wide variety of methods to store and retrieve data. So it's a efficient method used to store a variety as well as wide range of data to store and retrieve. If I go with file system, storing and retrieving of data cannot be done efficiently. So dear student, if I go with database management system, it provides only the abstract view of data and that hides all the details. So it's going to provide only the abstract view to the user. And if I go with file system, storing of a file or retrieving of data cannot be done efficiently. And if I go with database management system, by using this, I can very effectively store the data as well as retrieve the data. And if I go with file system, it does not offer data recovery process. So what is this recovery? That means if the data is lost or corrupted and I just want to recover that, but in file system, I cannot able to recover the data. But if I go with database management system, I'm going to have the backup recovery. So I can able to recover the data. Now, if I consider file system, the file system does not have a crash recovery mechanism. If the file system get crashed, it's not possible to recover the data. But if I go with database management system, if the database management system get crashed, but still I can able to recover because I have crash recovery mechanism. And if I go with file system, protecting a file system is very, very difficult. But if I go with database management system, it provides good protection mechanism. And if I consider file system, I must have file management system along with the redundancy of the data is greater. Redundancy means what? Repetition. So if I go with file system, I may have repeated or duplicated data. But if I go with database management system, it provides the redundancy of the data is very low because here we are going to use constants. That's nothing but primary key as well as secondary key or candidate key. By using these keys, I can able to overcome the repetition of data. And if I consider file system, it does not provide any security. But if I consider database management system, it provides security. So these are the some of the difference between file system as well as database management system. And I'm going to have application of the database. So what are the applications? That means where I can able to use database management system. So here these are the some of the applications of database management system, that is admission system, examination system, library system. That means I can able to have admission system or examination system as well as library system. Along with that, I can able to have database in payroll as well as personal management system, as well as in my accounting systems, as well as hotel reservation system, airline reservation system, or bus ticket reservation system. All those fields I can able to use database management system as backend. So what is this backend? Backend is nothing but used to store the data, to store all the passenger or all the client's detail. I required backend. And what is the backend here? That is nothing but database management system. That may be Oracle or MySQL, etc. So these are the some of the applications of database management system. Along with that, I'm going to have banking system. In banking system, once again, we are going to use database to store all the customer information, account activities, payments, deposits, as well as loans. And it's also used in the field like airline for reservation as well as scheduling. Database system also used by the universities to keep call records, monthly bills, as well as maintaining balance, etc. Even it is used to store financial informations. Along with that, it's used by the stock market as well as sales and purchase of financial instruments like stocks and bonds. So these are the some of the applications of database management system. Moving further, I'm going to have the user. So which are the different kinds of database users we are going to have here? That is native user, online user, application user, etc. So who is user? The person, one who is going to use the database is known as database user. So here database users are classified into 5 different types. In that first one, native user. Native user. So the native user need not be aware of the presence of the database system. So native users are the common user and they don't have any information regarding the presence of database management system, and they are going to work on the database management system by using menu driven application programs, and they type the request and they are going to get the response. Now the second type of user here is online user. So who is online user? The person who is in online. That is, online users may communicate with the database directly. For example, if I use online terminal, that means indirectly I'm going to interact with the database. So, online user may communicate with the database directly through an online or indirectly through user interface and application program. So, here online user can directly interact with the database or indirectly through the interface they can able to interact with the database. Then I'm going to have my third type, that is sophisticated user. And sophisticated users are the user and who is going to interact with the system without writing program. So here sophisticated users are the users, but they are not going to write any programs, but still they can able to interact with the database. Instead, they form their request. So what they will do, how they are going to interact with the database? By sending request or by framing request in database query language. That means by using database query language, they are going to form the request. They are the SQL programmers. So, who is going to be called sophisticated user, that is nothing but the SQL programmer, and one who is going to write the query, who are going to deal directly with the database management system. That means they are directly going to interact with the database. They write queries to delete the database or select the database or insert the database, at the same time update the database. And my fourth type of user here is specialized user. So the specialized users are the user who writes specialized database application. So here specialized users are also the user, and they are going to write the specialized database application and do not fit into the fractional database processing framework. That means they are not going to stick into the fractional database management system. Instead of that, they are going to write their own specialized database applications. Now, I am going to have my fifth type of user, that is application user. So, application users, so here application user or application program, both are same. So, application programs are the users who are responsible for developing. So, as the name itself suggests that they are the programmer and they are going to implement the application or they are going to develop the application. So, they are responsible for developing the application program or user interface. And application programs could be written in any high-level language. So, application programmers uses Java, .NET, PHP to design application program or user interface. And at the end, I'm going to have database management administrator, or I can able to call it as database administrator. So, what is my last type of user? That is database administrator, that is DBA. Now, it is a person, so who is administrator? That is nothing but the person or a group of charge of implementing, a group in charge. That means more than one person are responsible for implementing the database system with the organization. So, when I talk about database administrator, I can have one administrator or I can able to have more than one administrator or person, and they are responsible for implementing the database system within the organization. And here database administrators is responsible for providing the privileges. So, what is this privilege? That is nothing but accessibility. That means the database administrator is the authorized person who is responsible for controlling whole database. Along with that, he or she is responsible for allocating the privilege. So, this is all about database users. Anyway, dear student, in my today's session, I started with what is database management system. Along with that, I discussed what is data, what is database, the applications of database management system, along with that file system as well as database. Along with that, I have discussed the different types of users of database management system. And in my next session, I'm going to deal with introduction to SQL. That is nothing but structured query language. Anyway, dear students, let's meet in the next session with the new topic, that is structured query language. Until that, keep watching and keep learning. Thank you.